Saludos and salutations, Broncos country, and welcome back into another exciting episode of Broncos Talk. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got a very special episode for you today. I can tell you with sincerity before we get started with anything, this is probably going to be such a different show more than normally, like it normally is, just for the simple fact that I just have a feeling that we're not going to be on the same wavelengths. I was just talking to Bronco Libre before the show, and you might not like what you want to hear. More so for me, I can't speak for Libre. You guys know Bronco Libre is the coolest Broncos fan you'll ever get to meet. I have the pleasure, but please make sure you do not miss today's show because it is going to be a banger, as we like to say around here. It's going to be a banger, so make sure your food is warm and your beer is cold because you're not going to want to miss a minute of today's episode. And just so you guys know, you see that guy right there? That guy was pissed off. You let him down, Denver. That's why he's here. He's my emotional support aminal, and he is pissed off. And if he could talk, he would just go and tell you. And welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Adan Diaz, and joining me to my left or right, depending on which direction you're watching, is the amazing, the incredible, my best friend, El Bronco Libre.
Pika, pika. Pika, pika. What's happening, Broncos country? I know we had a sad, disappointing game, but we'll get into that. But let's go.
And I forgot to mention, for those that are not have the ability for visual impact, I was talking about my Pikachu that's right behind me for those that can't see. So yeah,
Pika,
shame
pika.
on you, Denver Broncos. You let down Pikachu, and it's amazing he didn't shock me and everybody in my house. Well, welcome in, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, as we said at the start of the show, we have got a very, very action-packed episode for you. Of course, we're going to give you everything that happened this past weekend against those damn Patriots, what Bronco Libre saw from the front lines before he turned into a big old snowman in the stands. And of course, we have your favorite segment, Broncos Talk Overtime, at the very end of the show to close. But before we get to any of all that good stuff, got to get a couple things out of the way first, just like we do at the start of every single show. If this is your first time here, welcome in. If not, welcome back. First of all, we would like to ask you if you could please show your support for us here. If you could subscribe, share, comment, and like on this and all the videos here on the Orange and Blue Network, your support is very, very, very grateful and well appreciated. By the way, Libre and I would like to send our, thoughts and prayers for everybody that's affected by the snowstorm out in Nashville. Our good friend Johnny, the guy that runs all of the network and does everything that you guys see here. Want to let him know we're thinking about him. Hoping the best, hoping that this thing passes and everybody out there, is safe and sound and can get back to living their normal lives. So shout out to you guys out there that's dealing with this cold winter snap that's just really weird. It's like from one edge of the country to the other, it seems. So, hoping everything turns out okay for everybody in the end. For our audio listeners, if you could please find it, regardless of what platform you're listening us to, if you could please give us a 5-star review. Always well appreciated. And if you like, you can screenshot it, send it to our socials there at the bottom. Mine is at a 6'10" Mexican. Bronco Libre is at 5280. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. Our sponsor for today's show and all the shows here on the network is brought to you by W. If you don't know what W is, it's basically got no sugar, calories, maltodextrin, fillers, or no artificial colors. It's formulated with nothing but amino acids, B vitamins, and nootropics, including their patented neurofactor nootropic, which is the caffeine derived directly from the coffee fruit. As we like to say, it's all the good without all the bad. Gives you that perk, that juice, that boost to get you through your daily activities. And if you use the code OBN10, you'll get 10% off your order at checkout with all of your favorite W flavors and products. Again, that code is OBN10 to get your 10% off order at checkout. Shout out to W for being a continued sponsor of this and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue networks. Ladies and gentlemen, we do have a show schedule going forward for you. Gonna read it out to you. Now, obviously, this latter part, you don't have to worry because we're not going to, unfortunately, deal with that for a good while. But for those of you that are being on the screen, please keep in mind the times that I'm going to mention are in mountain time. So please check your local format for any time changes. On Mondays and Fridays at 11 a.m., we have the Orange and Blue Blitz. On Mondays, also at 7 later on that day, we have the Broncos Bros because even
Broncos, bro.
Yeah, exactly. We're still trying to get an invite to that show because I was telling Libre before the show, I want to be a part of that intro because that is like one of the coolest intros I have ever seen. To have, do even Broncos, bro, and then just the explosion in your face. It doesn't get any cooler than that. Tuesdays, we have the flagship show, which is the Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast, which is every Thursday at 7:30. And Wednesdays at 2:30 for all those of you that are Nuggets and Rockies fans as well as Broncos fans. We have the Maha Symposium bringing you all the up-to-date stuff going on for the week. And then, of course, Broncos Talk, what you're watching now. Thursdays at 7, we have the Mahi Outcast podcast. And then on Fridays, we have the Viva Los Broncos, the only Spanish-speaking podcast that I can think of and anywhere around, really. And then the Fresh Squeeze coming to you with any breaking news during the regular season. We make sure you have that notification button so you don't miss a single moment of the breaking news action. And then again, during the pregame show, which is to Get Bucked. And then for those of you that unfortunately do not have access to watch the game, we got you covered with the Bucking Booth play-by-play. And then the Buck Your Feelings post-game show right afterwards, where the guys bring you all the up-to-date late in action with all of the day's activities.
Whew. What a season. What you getting out there and getting all that information out. Thank you. I appreciate you for doing all that. Maybe this upcoming season I'll probably maybe dabble into it, but for now, since you're the expert on it, I'll let you handle it.
Jorge saying, Don and Libre, y'all are more than welcome to be on the show. Let's plan it up.
Yes, sir. Let's do this.
You know what, Libre, can I do it? I'm going to do it.
Go, do it.
Hey, guys, do you even Broncos, bro?
Love it.
Yeah, man.
Love it.
I don't sound like George, but the way he says it because he has that really cool accent. Oh, I wish I had an accent, man. Well, you actually met George in person. How's he like?
George is a phenomenal guy. He's a great guy. Both him and Tim Dog. I met them. Several tailgates already in there. Also, Mile High Medlock as well. Great guys. Can't say nothing more about these guys. Phenomenal guys. Great guys to hang out with and tailgate. And trust, like when you come up to the tailgate, which I host every week at home, please come by, say hi. Let's have a drink together. Breckenridge Distillery always hooks it up. So thank you, Breckenridge Distillery, for hooking it up for the tailgate. They sponsor the tailgate itself. So please come out, show up, and get some whiskey, tequila. I got you.
You know who didn't get me this weekend? I'm hoping. I really am. For me, I'll admit, Libre, I did get a little bit lazy, and I counted the Colts game as my annual Broncos game. I didn't have to fly. I didn't have to rent a car. I saved a whole lot of money. And unfortunately, we didn't win. But I really, really, honest to God, I really was trying to go to Denver. I try to go to Denver every year, but unfortunately, It wasn't in me financially. So hoping to save up a couple bucks and re-roll for next year. Especially since you told me I can stay in your garage, so I don't have to worry about getting a hotel.
The best part about this is I don't even have a garage, so that's awesome. Yeah, you can stay in
Great.
the carport.
I'll bring my pup tent. I'll stay in your yard.
There you go.
But ladies and gentlemen, this game, if you saw us last week, I basically told you guys that I had a really, really bad suspicion about and City hype was all over the place, especially in Denver. Libre will tell you. It was everywhere. It was spreading. It was on Twitter. You saw the really cool picture of Stiddy with the headphones and the sunglasses. He means business. I was starting to get with that momentum, but no matter how hard I tried, I still had that little nagging feeling in the back of my orange and blue colored heart. That's like, you gotta get ready. You gotta be prepared. Now, I don't know about Bronco Libre or anybody that was at that game. I had no idea that Denver was going to get hit by a blizzard until the announcer said it on TV. That's when I knew that's like, okay, I thought it was going to be like what we got here in Chicago. If you guys saw the Bears game 2 weeks ago, that's what I thought it was going to be like, where it was snowing, but it wasn't snowing at a pace where you couldn't even see the freaking numbers anymore. Like that's the type of weather that we normally see in the Northeast. If the Broncos would have had to go play in New England, if you guys saw a picture of what they showed Foxborough had like 10, 15 inches of snow on the field. Like it was unrecognizable except for like anything over 20 inches from the stands and the Jumbotron and all that. But to me, I have my faults. I have my issues with the way Jarrett Stidham played, but I don't blame him for the loss. And you really can't, because it's really hard to put a person like that who hadn't thrown the ball for 2 years to put that type of pressure on him and say, hey, go out there and be perfect. And if you do it, we need you to go out there and be perfect again or close to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot to ask for somebody. So, and I'm pretty sure that Jarrett Stidham leading up to that game had probably one of the best weeks of his life because everybody was talking about him. He was finally getting the chance that he never got to have anywhere else outside of Las Vegas when he was with the Raiders. And unfortunately, it didn't plan out. Me personally, I put this blame on Sean Payton because Sean Payton should have had a better plan. Sorry, my dog was locked out. He had to have a better plan, and he didn't. There is no way you can't tell me that he had no idea that the weather in Denver was going to be like that, or have a backup plan, or it didn't change anything. New England gave the Broncos so many chances to take the lead, to win that game. And Denver, aside from the defense played phenomenal. Okay. Let's not get it twisted. The defense was amazing. I do not blame them for giving up that touchdown. Red zone defense is one of the hardest things to do in this league, especially in the postseason. Nobody was expecting Drake May to run down the middle with the ball. So, but they gave the ball back every single time. That 4th and 1, not going for it, is really what hurt the Broncos in the end. Because that's 3 points. That's a game that could have went into overtime, and you could have had more time to make changes. And you didn't. And it's the postseason, Libre. I feel that Sean Payton was going. I know in the presser he said he was going with his gut, but I feel like more he was just going by with the crowd, because the crowd was pretty loud on that 4th and 1, from what I heard. So, but I was yelling at my TV, no, man, go for the 3. Jarrett Stidham is not the guy you want to go with on 4th and 1. If that was Bo Nix, different story, because you could do so many things with Bo Nix. But Stidham is not that kind of guy. And you have a guy in Will Lutz who could kick that should be able to kick that with his eyes closed. And you didn't do it. So the fact that he went for it when he didn't really need to, especially in the postseason, and the fact that he didn't adapt to any changes, Libre, in terms of changing up how the Broncos needed to run and work in the snow, to me was really what pisses me off about losing this game.
So let's go back to the game about the snow, how you're talking about that. One of the things that I always like to do is I'm always looking at the weather, especially game day, checking it out, like me preparing what I need to do for myself to understand that if I need to wear warm, or if it's going to be hot or whatever, I'm always looking at the weather. Even the morning of, I'm still looking at that weather. The weather here in Denver said about 50% chance of snow, but not until like 5 p.m. So that's what the weather apps were saying. And that's going into like in the morning for the game itself. So I'm like, all right, so the game's going to be over. Snow is not going to be a major factor or anything like that. And again, it was a high of about 25 degrees. So as long as the sun was out and it was nice. And that was like the day before, like this on Saturday. That's how I was gauging it, because me and my son went out saying, all right, we know that it's going to be very cold in the afternoon later on. We need to get like thermals, because we didn't have any of that. So we went and got thermal socks and all that, some hand warmers, the hot hands and whatnot. So just looking at that, just thinking going into the third and fourth quarter, there in the second half, we're like, okay, we're going to need this in the second half because it is colder, high of 25, but the snow's not going to come until, maybe late in the fourth quarter, but it's going to be sometime after the game. So like we got prepared for that. But the snow itself, we weren't, the city was not prepared for it. Anybody would so nobody was. But again, this is Denver. This is you always expect the unexpected here, especially weather related issues, because the very next day it was 40 degrees outside and it like melted everything, So that's like how I say the ADD of weather here in Denver. You're always going to get that here, no matter where, like whatever it is. That's why, like when I was telling Don earlier this year that we have over 300 days of sun here in the Mile High City, which he didn't believe me. Even though I've been here my whole life, he still didn't want to believe me until he looked it up. But going into that game, you don't expect that. But again, that's the first time I think we've had a good snowstorm or anything like that in like 3-4 years. So over the last several years, we haven't had that type of weather. But it's Denver. You never know what's going to happen. But going back to that 4th and 1 play, I see like his logic about trying to go in there and actually you're down there in the red zone, getting close to the red zone. Let's get it thrown in there so that we can have a 14-0 lead against these guys in the AFC Championship game. I get that part. But again, I feel like there's some multiple factors that have happened on that in particular play, because I was like having to look back on the play. And of course, all the people on Twitter and all that, breaking it down, analyzing it, and if you go back and actually look at it, Adam Troutman did not touch that defensive end that gave the pressure on Stiddy. If he would have just put a hand and just stopped him for that half a second or whatever the case, then he would have been able to at least get that first down. Because if you look on that play, one of the wide receivers was opening up right behind Troutman for the first down. And that would have been an easy pass to him. First down, Broncos get it. But because Troutman did not put a hand on him, he had that untouched all the way to Stiddy, and that just put that pressure on him, and he just couldn't get out there. And then, of course, that pass was almost intercepted as well when he threw it. So that's one play right there where, like, I think that should have been the key factor is why didn't Troutman do that? That was part of his job, and he just didn't do it, and then just went in and then went out right away. But then again, we go down to, other factors as well. It's like Stiddy is a typical, like, hold the ball a little bit longer and try to make plays in the pocket. He's not that guy that's going to go out there and try to run for the first down like Bo is. So that was also another issue. And you just see that throughout the whole game as well, where he just held the ball too long. And not get it out fast enough, or go and actually run and try to get some yardage when there was openings. Because there's been a couple times where he could have just ran and got a first down, but he decided to stay in the pocket and then try to throw it, and it was incomplete. It just wasn't there for him. Just because, like we say, he doesn't have the game day experience from 2 years. It was 2 years from the last time he played where he had that game day experience, because game day experience and practice are two different things. You can do so much in a practice. But because that was his first game of the year, it's just hard.
I totally get that. And I see your point, Libre. But I will say that the way, again, I know he only had a week to prepare himself, but I feel bad for Jarrett Stidham because I feel like he really, really missed the mark in terms of this was his chance for out there, regardless of what the result of this game was, for him to go out there and put some tape out there. Tape that he hasn't been able to put the last 2 years since the last time he started. Because again, when he started before, it was in a meaningless game, and that was one of his times to shine, and he really didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I admire the fact that he decided not to go and back up Drake May last year when he clearly could have. And I'm pretty sure a part of me thinks that I don't think he left because there's no way the New England was going to pay him what the Broncos paid him. So I want to say that was a monetary reason why he didn't want to go and back up Drake May.
Going on that, I did hear that they were willing to pay him a little bit more. And he turned it down because of what he said, that he likes the quarterback room and the culture that Sean Payton has built. So the money wise, I don't think was there. Like, I think they were going to give him more money just to go be the backup, but he declined it because he liked the culture that we had here in Denver over what New England had.
Well, I hope that's true, because that's what I had read initially why he didn't leave when he started picking up. But I think the thing that really hurts me the most to see is that first of all, I want to use my little football here as an example. So I have never in my life seen any football player, starter or backup, throw a football like this, like they were throwing out a Hadouken from Street Fighter. Like, that to me threw me for a loop. He didn't throw it like this, like anybody else. He threw it and he didn't just do it once. He did it like 2 or 3 times. And it was so, was the weirdest thing I have ever seen in my life, because especially when he was getting chased down, all he had to do was just take the sack. Like, I'm pretty sure that the coaches instill to all their quarterbacks, don't try to be a hero, because you're not always it's not worth the gamble. Yes, we've seen plays like what we saw with Caleb Williams, where he just chucked it and Cole Kmet just happened to be under the ball. But in this case, take the sack, man. Take the sack. Let the punt. The defense was playing outstanding. I'm pretty sure the defense could have gotten you the ball back or limited the damage to 3, depending if the punt went bad. But you just don't do that, especially in this type. So, and I felt like he was trying to do something where he didn't want to take the sack. I still don't think that was a backwards pass. I think it was too close to call. It should have just stayed a grounding call, and they should have just let the punt. That's just me. But every time I say that, people think that I'm just saying that because it was against the Broncos.
Well, you got to go back and look at it, because originally when we saw that, we were all confused, and then they had the ref, talking about it. They had the huddle and whatnot, and decided that was the case. But if you go back and review the film, you could clearly see that he was throwing it, like he was even pushing it forward, and it got at the exact same time as when the defender was right there, and it pushed the ball to laterally and went backwards. You at that point, you have to go in and you have to be able to say, let's go back and review this. I just had somebody the Patriot fan at work, and he even said, he goes, man, this is a playoff type of game. This is what matters most. Just make everything reviewable. Just go back in there. Doesn't matter if it takes a little bit longer. You want to make it right. And he also was saying, yeah, I thought it was a forward pass as well. And he tipped it going, and he tipped the ball and it went backwards. And like he agreed with it as well. So I was like, you're the Patriot fan, and you're the one that's saying that you agreed with it, and that's where you got the touchdown. You know what that was like really the deciding factor of the game was that right there. But you know, that's something that the competition committee needs to go in there and say, hey, this is playoffs. Playoff is different now. Now let's go ahead and just review everything. Like I know it's something that like Sean Payton couldn't throw a flag and review it because that was like what they consider a non-reviewable play, which is crazy. Just make everything reviewable no matter what it is, just so that you get it right.
I wholeheartedly agree. And I was beside myself because I was like, that's bull. Like,
yeah.
Why would he throw a backwards pass when there's nobody behind him?
Yeah.
So I'm like, I was yelling at the refs like I was at the game. And I know my old man was looking at me like I was an idiot. But I told my dad, I'm like, Dad, why would he throw a sideways pass or a backwards pass? There's nobody behind him. I'm like, that makes no sense. And I'm like, the refs just got that one wrong. But I calmed down right away because I'm like, hey, look, I have faith in our defense.
Yeah.
Like, I know our defense is going to get us back. I know Sean Payton, because if we saw magic out of Stidham in that second drive, I'm pretty sure you guys went bananas in that second drive when you saw him go for that home run ball. And I'm like, Jarrett Stidham can do it. He can do it, especially because New England was so rattled.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it wasn't for that awkward call, I guarantee you, whatever you want, that New England would have never sniffed the red zone.
I agree 100%. They would never gotten close enough.
So it was like, and credit to Drake. You got to give credit to Drake, man. Give credit to when it's due. Like he did just enough where he didn't make the same mistakes that Jarrett Stidham made, which was interceptions. And we talked about it last week, Libre, where we said that interceptions like that or calls like that, turnovers, they just get amplified times 2.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, that's exactly what happened. That last play, I was so like, I felt so defeated because even before they snapped it off, I said, this is going to Drake May. Like Drake May's just going to run it to the opposite side because there was nobody on the right-hand side. And I'm like, there is no way that the Vance Joseph's going to fall for this. And sure enough, it was a play action. And the entire Broncos defense went to one side, and Drake May just ran it by himself. And I forgot who was the one that was chasing him, but fortunately wasn't fast enough, and Drake May gets the first down. So I just felt like, I don't know, man. I was in my feelings. I kind of felt like, I don't know if Vance Joseph just got outplayed or if he really didn't see that and why nobody bothered to make call an audible and say, hey, somebody watch Drake, or I don't know.
Well, we talked about it as well. Remember, I was saying like we need to have a spy on him. It was the same thing like with Josh Allen. You have to have a spy on him because he has the capable of making those runs when needed, and that's what he did, exactly what he needed. And like how you said, he was the game manager for them during that game. You know, they had the lead. He was just a game manager. Don't turn over the ball. And even if we're kicking it back every time, you have the lead. That's all that you need to do. And they just happened to do that. And we couldn't do anything on offense either as well. So, which was pretty deflating as well, especially seeing it out there like just seeing it live. We're like, why are we doing this? Like, come on, like run the ball. Like there's times where we're just saying, just run the damn ball, go.
I have never heard all season, and in a while, I have not heard the words Quinn Miners and having a bad day in the same sentence, and I didn't want to believe it until they showed the replay, and they showed Quinn Miners. That whole offensive line, man, they were
struggled.
They were getting beat. I mean, what's his name? Our tackle, not Garrett Bowles, McGlinchey.
Yeah,
I got used to seeing him because there are certain players that, as good as Mike is, there's just other players that, hey, man, this guy's got your number. And, Sean Payton had a tight end do a chip block or whatever, get him the help. But Quinn Miners, Ben Powers, our center. I think Garrett Bowles was the only number you didn't hear in terms of not getting beat up as much. But unfortunately, the offensive line did not do much favor for Jared Stidham, and that sucks, and that really does suck. Especially with the Broncos offensive line, if I'm not mistaken, weren't they named like the number one offensive line in the league this year?
Yeah, they're right there in the top. Because you have to remember,
Mhm.
we have 2 All Pros on the out there, so they are up there, like they're in the top 3. I don't know if they were number 1 overall, but I think they might have. But at least one of the top 3 is offensive line in the whole league, and they were good all season long. And again, it's that one bad day. It happens to be the AFC Championship game, and we'll be back next year though. The line will be good. We'll be better.
Well, that regard I do, and let me just also add, Milton Williams. Like, I don't normally I don't mind when the opposing team talks smack to us that we lost to, because hey, that's how things go. But there's a certain way you do something like that, because the way Williams was talking, he made it sound like the Broncos got blown out, and it wasn't belt to ass like he was making it sound.
Yeah.
It was literally like, if Mother Nature had a Venmo, you should go and donate to her. Because that's how I felt. Your offense, Drake
Mother
May
Nature
could
does
not
have the Venmo. Just send it to Bronco Libre.
Oh, just
There you
Bronco
go.
Libre, yeah.
Yep,
We'll
there
put
you
it up
go.
on the screen. But like, your offense was not going out there lighting it up. And if it wasn't for the fact that our backup quarterback made a mistake, it would be us in a somewhere in the multiverse sitting here talking smack about, dreams of a Super Bowl. But again, ladies and gentlemen, just so you know, my orange and blue heart still hurts to this day. But I took some consolation. Well, first of all, before that, like the Ellis brothers, I don't know if you stuck around afterwards, Libre, but that was hard to watch, man.
No, as soon as the clock hit 0-0, we were already walking out the stadium, because I don't want to see another team in my house accepting a trophy in our house. That's something I'm not going to stay and watch. And it sucks that it happened to be the Patriots that did it. The first time ever, them beating us here in Denver in the playoffs. I didn't want to see that. While we were walking out, and we were walking to the car, you could just hear them cheering and doing all that, because all the Patriot fans, of course, stayed inside the stadium, or they actually, if there were some up on top, they moved all the way to the bottom as fast as they could. But yeah, we weren't. Nobody, I guaranteed, no Bronco fans were in there seeing that happen. Yeah, because as soon as we were walking out, you could see them like rolling in the stage, doing all that, and I'm just glad that I didn't see any highlights of that at all, because I think that would make me even more upset, more mad, seeing that it was done here. Like how you were able to see it or whatnot. Like, I'm just glad that it didn't happen here.
Oh no, I turned off my TV. I was like, hey, I got to do something, because I feel like I'm going to punch a wall. But like, for the Ellis brothers, it was like one of those, it's happy and sad things, because you're
absolutely
happy, you're sad that the brother on your team didn't make it, and it's like, hey, good luck in the Super Bowl to the other. So
Yeah.
it was kind of like what people saw with the Kelce's a couple years ago, except not a lot of people like Travis Kelce, but a lot of people, I guess, are more fans of Jason Kelce.
Well, he's pretty good, and he's a funny guy. So yeah, people love him.
And he's one of the best centers I've seen in the league in a while. So
yeah, since, like, I would say, since like Jeff Saturday. What about when about 10 years ago, when he was there with the Colts and with Peyton Manning? I just actually saw a highlight of the Pro Bowl, and they had Jeff Saturday because he's part of the NFC at that time, took one snap and gave it to Peyton Manning just because of he goes, one old time sake, I needed to do it. And it's the Pro Bowl. They can do anything they want in the Pro Bowl, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And I don't blame him either, because I know there was a couple people like that were like trying to downplay it, and I was like, you know what, if that was me, I'd be the same thing. If me and my brother wanted opposing teams and my brother's team won, it's like, hey man, I'm gonna be cheering for you, but I'll be lying to you if I told you this didn't hurt.
Right.
You know, because especially for the defense took it so hard because they literally went out there and played an almost perfect game. You know, and for them to go out there and leave it all on the field and fall that short, I mean, it hurts. And I know that a lot of people were quoting Nick Bonito after the game where he said, like, we were the better team. But unfortunately, the only issue I had with that statement is that the team consists of everybody on that roster, not just the defense. You could say we were the better defense because I think you were, but when it comes to the team, it's like the offense, the missed chance at taking the field goal, the blocked field goal attempt, and just the offense not being able to do anything in the snow. They weren't able to adapt. They weren't able to change. Sean Payton did not have a plan for that second half. And it hurts like hell because the Broncos had the advantage the entire time. You know, and granted, it wasn't a huge advantage against New England because New England also played in the snow. But still, the way that they were playing, especially with Drake May not being able to even get a first down on most of the occasions, again, that kind of missed that bad punt by New England, and just so many chances, Libre, and so
it's just
many
those missed opportunities, and that's where it comes out. It's those missed opportunities that just happened to be that day. You know, it just sucks that it was that game with all these missed opportunities. But you know what? This is where we grow from. And this is where I feel like we're going to be able to bounce back next year. And I go back and look at the 96 Denver Broncos, us losing to the Jaguars. And then what did we do after that? Back-to-back Super Bowls. You know, what happened 10 years ago, right before that, with Peyton Manning and all them, you know, like it happens. But guess what? This team bounces back and they have a better year. But again, like, and I was just actually telling somebody this earlier today as well. And what we were able to do with the amount of dead cap money to be the number one team in the AFC, to earn that number one seed with the amount of dead cap money, the highest in the history of the league. And then now we get all of that money back to be able to add some talent to this team and put people around Bo Nix so that we can get this offense the way it should be. And watch out, like this is going to be like even Sean Payton says, you're giving me $50,000 to remodel my bathroom or my house or whatever. But now with the amount of money, it's a $200,000. Look at what we're going to be able to do, which is going to be a much nicer offense that we're going to be able to do. And I hope that we're able to do it. And the radio is already here in town already saying Denver is a destination team yet again, because people see what we've done and what we're building here now, and players are going to want to come. We already had 2 players last year that came here because they know, they see the culture, they see what was happening. It's just going to attract more and more because all we're going to do is go up from here. There's, you know, I feel like we're just going to be there. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait for it.
I know that that the Broncos have Sean Payton especially, they have a lot of hard choices to make this offseason because they have a lot of free agents.
Yeah.
The only ones that there are a lot of them that you can kind of say like the Broncos can kind of do without because they can go into free agency and find of same caliber.
Yep.
With the exceptions of like I think they should re-sign JFM and Jaquan McMillan.
I think with some of those guys do have a restricted free agency as well. So if they do go sign somewhere, then the Broncos get extra picks or whatever, what might have you. But I do feel like those are going to be some high priority issues that the Broncos are hopefully re-sign. So, but yeah, they sent a list out. What was it, yesterday? Where they had a whole list, and there's some that are restricted, some that are another type of like restriction or whatever. And then there's just some that are just off the books. Doesn't matter if they go somewhere else or not. Then they're like the Broncos won't get anything for them.
And by the way, let me just say this because I saw a couple of I don't even know if you can call them fans, but people that were still to this day downplaying the pick of Jahdae Barron, talking about it was a waste. Like, you guys need to get over that, because I would much rather have a guy like Jahdae Barron on the team who was the best pick available when it was Denver's turn to pick, because he came in and he played a very important role when we lost Pax Surtain, and he's learning along the way, just like Riley Moss did when he first came to Denver in that type of role. So to have that depth in cornerback is a very, very nice thing to have, because a lot of teams, when their corners go down, when their starting corners go down, they turn into complete ass. Just go ask Indianapolis. Indianapolis spent so much to get a guy like Sauce Gardner. They literally risked their future. And when Sauce went down, like their corner, their secondary was already struggling before Gardner got there. After Gardner went down, it got even worse.
Yeah.
And the Colts went from being one of the like dark horse teams to make the playoffs to just missing out because of not just Gardner going down, but what's his name? Daniel Jones going down as well. So you guys need to leave my guy Jahdae alone. He's going to be fine. He's going to be great. Especially if Vance Joseph decides to stick around, he's just going to keep
sounds like it.
Yeah, he's just going to keep flourishing in this defense. So I told Libre at the beginning of the show, if you guys have been watching us since the draft last year, or not the draft, the trade deadline, that I was pushing for the Broncos to make a move to get to risk it for the biscuit, as they say, and get a wide receiver, a tight end, something to give Bo some help. And then I'm kind of glad now that they didn't, because it really wouldn't have mattered who they got. Because if there was any silver lining or some positive spin to Bo Nix getting hurt, it's that it showed, and not just to the Broncos, but in general, how important your star quarterback is to your team. Because without him, and this isn't a knock on Jarrett Stidham, or any backup quarterback that has ever come to step in, but it is night and day, especially when you put the pressure on an AFC championship game, everything riding on the line, people getting behind you to support you and all that stuff. And when things don't go your way and the S hits the fan, that you have to deal with this type of feeling, this sentiment, this sense of failure, so to speak. And again, to quote our friend Jay Weaver here, who also, Jay, thank you so much for stopping by for your support.
Wow,
he says that he hates people who are railing on Lutz because of the misses. That dude has won so many games over the past 2 years for us. He needs more respect on his name, in my opinion. And then he also, I concur, yeah. And then he also says, time for those free agent discounts like back in the Manning era. You guys are right. People should want to fight to be a part of this team. We shouldn't overpay for anyone. Well, with the Russell Wilson contract officially finally now behind us, Sean Payton has money to play with, and he has key pieces to move around if he likes. So I have a feeling that free agency for the Broncos is going to be another big hit, and this time for the offensive side of the ball. As Libre mentioned a little while ago, the Broncos went out and got it big with Dre Greenlaw and Hufanga coming in, and Hufanga was a godsend. Okay. That guy is going to be an amazing player for the remainder of his time here in Denver. And Dre Greenlaw, even though we didn't get to call his name a lot and not see him for, what was it, Libre, like 4 or 5 games, he is definitely going to be a key piece going forward. And there's Libre with the Hufanga jersey, of course.
Oh, yeah.
So it is, we should, Libre, see people clamoring to come play in Denver, to tell their agents, hey, get Sean Payton on the line. Tell him that I want to come play in Denver, and, you know, let's talk negotiation and all that. So it'll be interesting to see, Libre, who the Broncos decide to get and move aboard. But there is no doubt in my mind that's saying to me that Sean Payton is definitely going to improve this offense one way or another.
Oh, no, it's going to be a guaranteed that this offense is going to improve drastically. Yes, there might be a lot of new pieces to this offense, but trust that in the process itself, that George Payton, and Sean Payton and George Payton, both of them are going to get in there and get this team top notch. And it's going to be exciting to see next year. I can't wait for how they put this team together and what they are going to be able to do. So starting in March, when the new league year starts, it's going to be exciting to see what's going to happen.
I will say that one thing I am kind of happy with, and I don't know if you saw the presser from George Payton and from the owner and from even Sean, but one thing that I'm glad they didn't do is they didn't go around playing the blame game. Because normally what you see from teams like this, Libre, it's like, oh, well, it was Stidham, it was RJ Harvey, it was so-and-so, it was so-and-so. Like, they didn't go out and do that, Libre. They just said, hey, look, we knew it was a reach from when the second Bo Nix went down, but there was always a thought, there was always hope. Yes, mistakes were made. There's a lot of things to fix. They'll have plenty of time in the offseason to fix those mistakes. But they basically reassured Broncos country that this is not the last they've heard of championship dreams and a run.
Yeah.
Because we now know that Bo Nix is more important than ever to this team. And that without him, doesn't matter who's the backup next year. If Stidham decides to stay or go, it's his team to run in the near future. And we will only get as far as Bo Nix can take us, and Sean Payton in that regard, for as long as he's tenured here in Denver. So it's important that they start building around Bo and giving him the weapons that he needs, and just giving him the tools to succeed.
No, and you got to do it now because he's on his rookie deal. You need to do it now because once he's out of this rookie deal, he's going to cost you. And then you're not going to have that type of money to play with anymore. But you have to do it now. The window is now. It's not 4 years from now, because at that point, forget it, because Bo's already going to get paid, whatnot. But you need to do it now that he's still under this rookie deal and get this team together. And I know that that's what George Payton and Sean Payton are going to be doing, is getting this team right and getting what Bo needs, because we are still on that rookie deal. And I don't think enough is said about that as well. That's with New England as well. Drake May's in his second year as well. So they're getting what they need to do to help him out as well. So, but the Broncos need to get out there and start getting players here to help this team be a lot better. And I feel that they're going to do that. And I think they understand that as well. So, and can't wait. That's why I'm so excited for this upcoming offseason to see what we're able to do and what players come in and get this team right, because we're, like I said, like maybe 2-3 players away from making this team one of the best ever. And like they've already said it, this is one of the closest teams that they've ever coached. Like Sean Payton said that. Like some of the other guys have said that. Some of the players has even said that. Like that's the culture you want to build. Now let's get it done.
And I actually wasn't going to talk about this, Libre, but we need to have a serious conversation about our wide receiver room because unfortunately they did Jared Stidham no favors.
Mhm.
He did not have the same benefit that Bo had. He didn't have Troy Franklin. He was out with a hamstring, and he lost what's his name? What's his name that went out with the concussion again?
Troy Franklin.
No, Troy Franklin had the hammy.
What, Marvin Mims?
No, it wasn't Mims. I can't think of his name.
Because Mims got the catch. Who was it? A younger guy, right?
Yeah, the younger guy. He's a rookie. At least I think he's a rookie.
Oh, Pat Bryant.
Pat Bryant. Thank you.
There we go.
Pat Bryant is a really good player. I think he's going to succeed in this offense, in this league in general. But the fact that he's having this many concussions back to back is worrisome, and it worries me in terms of him having a future here, and just being playing in general, because we've seen that players that cannot get out of that bubble Libre are forced to retire early.
So what he needs to do is put on that Guardian cap. I know it looks silly. Me and my son talk about it all the time when he saw one of the Packers players that have it on. But you know what? Like, if that is the scenario where you're going to be out there to be healthy, just do it. Like, it doesn't matter how, like, you're not getting style points while you're out there. You're in a football uniform.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did have it on for that game, and unfortunately it didn't help because he still went out like after the second drive. I think they pulled him. But my issue isn't so much with that in general. My thing is, and we just have to talk about Courtland Sutton. And this is coming from a guy I backed so many people that always told me Courtland Sutton is not a number one, especially when he got his contract. I can't tell you how many people came out to me and told me like that's a waste of money. He's not a number one guy. You know, he's not Jamar Chase. He's not Malik Neighbors. He's not Tyreek Hill before he shattered his leg. And I was like, you know what? He doesn't need to be the fastest guy in the league. He just needs to be able to go up and catch the ball. We saw the catches that he made. Like, they were some of the craziest catches that you'd only see in Madden.
But you know what? Like, what made him get that contract? Who was on the opposite side of him? And, you know, and this is what comes down to it as well. He had Tim Patrick on the other side. He had another receiver. Maybe it was like the same type of receiver that he is, but guess what? You still had somebody that was there, that he was not really the main guy, but he was still there having somebody else on the other side. And that is one of the things that we did not have the last couple of years since we let Tim Patrick go, is that he didn't have that guy. He did, like, that was consistent all the time. And that's what we're missing. And again, I've said this as well since day one, that he's never been a wide receiver one myself. I've never thought of him as a wide receiver number one or anything like that, but he needed somebody on the other side to complement him so that he's there, so that they left him one-on-one, did whatever. And that's why he had those phenomenal catches and whatnot. But because there was more focus on him, that's why I think he struggled over the last couple of years.
Well, I just think that he needs either some incentives put in or somebody to come in and give him competition. But those catches that he missed, Libre, were just like, you could pull in your case, your mask off. Like, bro, you have to catch that. It wasn't like the ones that little Jordan Humphrey. That's a different story. They're not paying Jordan Humphrey, millions and millions of dollars. Like, yeah, he had the one against Buffalo where he should have caught it. Totally agree. He also had a missed one in this one. Yeah. Totally agree. And a guy like Jordan and like Humphrey, if he keeps doing it, you can bench him. But a guy like Sutton, who kept missing him over the course of the season, it's like you can't really bench someone like that because you paying him millions of dollars to go out there and play.
Well, the thing is, you can. That's what the Broncos already did. They benched Russell Wilson and still paid him.
Yeah. And it's just like I don't know what needs to be done. Like, I don't want the Broncos to cut him, because I really love Courtland Sutton. He will always be a Bronco to me, especially if he ever decides to go play somewhere else. But to Jay Weaver's point, for those of you that can't see it, we need a true number one so badly.
We do.
And if you can get somebody that's fast that can take the top off of a defense and force the secondary to say, "Hey, we're going to send two guys," kind of like what in that play with Mims. That was a beautiful play because the safety had to guess if he's going to go to the left or go to the right, and he guessed wrong. And Mims just blew past the cornerback and went and got the ball. That was a beautiful play. So if you can keep replicating stuff like that and make the secondary guess, and if they get it wrong, and you get a guy who can jet down the field, Libre, oh my God. Oh, and by the way, people that are saying that they should go out and get Derrick Henry to come to Denver.
No.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm sure Derrick Henry still has some gas in the tank, but from what I saw in Baltimore,
talking about running backs, there are two running backs that are they're going to be free agents at the end of this season. One, Bryce Hall, they're in the Jets. I would love to see if we can get him here. But one that I actually do want to see here, which he probably will end up re-signing, and he's with the Seahawks, Walker Jr. or Kenneth Walker. III. Yeah. So with him, because of the type of back that he is and he hits the hole, just watch the games. But I feel like they're going to end up going to re-sign him just because of the injury to their main running back that just happened. But maybe he comes back and he's healthy and he's ready to go. And if we can get him to be here, and if we can sway him away out of Seattle and then come here and have him win back-to-back Super Bowls, like that's why not have that being enticing? As you can tell, I'm having the Seahawks with the Super Bowl. So, and then him coming here to Denver and then having back-to-back Super Bowls. So if we can get him, I think that will solve our running back issue right there, because he's not only great and hitting the hole hard between the tackles, but he's also a great receiving tight end, running back as well. So we need to, if we can get him, I think that would be the joker of this year.
If Seattle wins the Super Bowl, just like I predict they will, remember, every person that on a Super Bowl winning team becomes more expendable to keep once it's time to re-sign contract. And unless you're like a really, really great player where the team's going to take the risk and back up the Brinks truck to pay you to keep you, like a lot of players become expendable. I mean, look at the Eagles last year. They lost like more than 3 or 4 key defensive players: Milton Williams, C.J. Gardner, and Josh Sweat. And they all went to different teams, and they just weren't able to replicate that same magic. Well, except for Milton Williams, but Josh Sweat unfortunately wasn't able to do anything in Arizona. C.J. Gardner bounced around between 2 teams, and Williams has just gotten lucky with New England, and that's just how the game works, Libre. So I'm hoping. I have a feeling that the Broncos are probably going to re-sign J.K. Dobbins. That's just I think, where they keep it safe, because they do like R.J. Harvey, and R.J. Harvey had a really good rookie year.
Yeah,
but in case they don't decide to keep Dobbins because they don't want to take a gamble with his injury history, then I could see them going out and making an offer to bring in Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker would be good.
Yeah, I would. That would be the one that I would go after. Like, if they can go after him, then say, "Here you go. Let's take care of you here in Denver." And that's my number one. I think off season probably addition if we can go after, and I think that's going to be, a win for the Broncos.
But Bronco Libre, it is now time. We have reached the end of regulation, which means it is overtime.
Let's go.
And welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen. This is overtime, where Libre and I let our hair down figuratively, and we talk about anything going on in our lives that's more than likely not football related, but if there's a way we can bring it back to our beloved Broncos, then we certainly, most definitely, positively, no doubtedly, diddly
Will.
will. But Libra, since we were just talking about the Super Bowl, I'm not surprised that you have the Seahawks picked as your potential winner.
Well, let me tell you why. Like, I have them out there as well. They also have a great defense, and I think if Bo, like, I know I don't like to say what ifs, but for this scenario, yes, if we had Bo playing and the way that the game played out, Bo would find a way to win that game. In the fourth quarter, whatever you want to say, he'll find a way to win that game. And Stiddy, you could tell the difference. Stiddy, I think, holds on to the ball way too long because he's more of a pocket passer, wants to be in there to make that type of play from the pocket. As Bo, he's more mobile. He's out there. And with just the offensive line play, like my buddy Sean Gray was saying on my TikTok, he goes, Bo would have been more mobile. He would have been out there, and he helps the line, creates so that he's out there to helping that line out there. Being able to block or get him into a situation where he sets it up properly. Stiddy, he's not that mobile. He's not getting out there and doing all that. But with this defense, like, Seattle has another great defense this year, and I feel that this defense is gonna shut down this New England's offense big time. Like, I've already predicted it where it's going to be a close game in the first half, but then in the second half, the Seattle is just going to start pulling away because of that defense, and McDaniels isn't going to have an answer for them because already their line is not as good, and they'll find ways to getting to that and put pressure onto Drake May.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator for Seattle, right?
I think he is, yeah.
So this, with a Super Bowl win under his belt, I think this would be his first Super Bowl ring.
I think he got one with the Broncos when he was like a quarterback coordinator back in the day.
Oh yeah, correct.
10 years ago, he had it. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the staff. You're right. But even so, like, that would open up so many doors for him in terms of.
Well, he's already in there getting interviews for the head coaching jobs right now.
Yeah. And let me just tell you, I do not like most of these hires for head coaches.
It's weird.
It's really like the amount of pissed off Steelers fans I've seen when they saw Mike McCarthy.
Yeah.
I do not blame them one damn bit for being upset, because you're going from Mike Tomlin to Mike McCarthy, who literally ran the Cowboys, I want to say, into the ground or close to it.
Close to it, yeah.
Like, I don't know how the Steelers thought that Mike McCarthy was a great idea to bring in. I really thought McCarthy was going to go back to being like an offensive coordinator, work his way back up into the head coaching scene, like most former coaches do. Yeah. And unfortunately, that was totally not the case. Joe Brady being named the head coach for the Bills, that was another one, because did they not see what he did in New England?
Well, wasn't he like their offensive coordinator?
No, Joe Brady was the head coach, wasn't he? After Mayo.
Was he? Okay.
Sure. I'm pretty sure it was Gerard Mayo, then Joe Brady, and then Mike Vrabel. I could be wrong.
I think he was I think he could have been the offensive coordinator, and I think they promoted him. I think they promote him within. I'd have to look it up, but I do feel like that's what happened.
But I still don't think like I get it. Bills fans were not happy with them losing in Denver, and I feel like McDermott losing his job was just the scapegoat and finding somebody to blame.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that McDermott did just enough where he got the Buffalo Bills into postseason play since he got to Buffalo. So it's like now you're literally I feel like they're going to waste whatever time Josh Allen has left, in not just with the Bills, but in an NFL career. So I don't agree with that hire whatsoever. The Giants getting Harbaugh, that was an interesting one because they, I don't know how he's going to go from Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, two really good football players, to Jackson Dart, who's going into his second year, and then we're
Well,
hopefully
prior to him getting injured, he was doing pretty good.
he was.
So I think what he's looking at, that he goes, I have a young team that I'm going to be able to mold. Even it's Jackson Dart, like I'm going to be able to mold him into the quarterback that I want him to be. I think that
Mhm.
he saw that and he goes, you know what? I see the potential that he has, and it's the big city. You have the media market there, and why like a lot of these coaches, they want that. Even coming from a smaller media type of town to the big time there in New York, like who doesn't really want that? Yeah, yes, all eyes are now on you. You're on under a microscope and all that, but they're there for a reason. They all that's why some of the players go out to New York, even if it is with the Jets. They're there in that media style of they think of more of the media more as the not as the more of the football part of it, but they want to be part of that media. They want to build their brand. But Harbaugh already has his brand. He already is there. And I feel like he says, you know what? I see Jackson Dart. I want to mold him into the quarterback I know that he can be and be very successful there.
I think that his first year is going to be pretty challenging because he's going from the AFC to the NFC, and that's a pretty big change because a lot of people don't think that going from one conference to the other is such a big deal, but it really is. Especially when he has to try to get to the Super Bowl from the opposite side, which is something that he hasn't done in a long time since he went to Baltimore initially. So, but if his brother can do it with the Chargers, then hey, the sky's the limit. And the other one, the Cleveland Brown one, is causing some controversy, Libre, because they thought I think it was Schwartz who thought he was going to get promoted to head coach, and then they went and got what's his name, Todd Monken?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they just announced it. Like it was weird. But that's Cleveland Brown doing Cleveland Brown stuff.
Yeah, but do you think that Harbaugh keeps Russell Wilson as the backup, or do you think that they let Russell Wilson go?
No, I think he's gone. Unless they get him cheaper, because I know what they paid him $10 million or whatever this year.
The vet minimum, yeah.
Yeah. So whatever the vet minimum was, and it's going to be hard. I think they'll bring in another quarterback. They'll probably draft another quarterback or bring someone in, but I think really Russ is done. Like he's probably officially done in the league, and just let Sierra make your money for you.
I think he's done in terms of being a starter because now that he's officially off of Denver's books, there's no way in hell anybody's going to pay him what Denver backed up for 4 years ago and say, hey, we need you to run this team. Now, I did see an interesting report, and this is more of like a hypothetical, that Russell Wilson could go to Kansas City if Patrick Mahomes is not good to go by week 1, depending on how it is. And it's a possibility. And even if he doesn't go to start, he could go and be a backup if they don't decide to keep Gardner Minshew or the other young guy that played behind Minshew. So there's a lot of questions and issues with Kansas City itself. It would be funny as hell, though, to see something like that. Now, I would prefer to see Russell with the Raiders, but it's pretty much written in stone that the Raiders are going to go after Fernando Mendoza. They're not dumb enough to make the same mistake they made last year, where they could have jumped up and gotten Bo Nix if they wanted to, but they didn't. And they still don't have a head coach as of this recording, but I don't think that it really does matter who they get as a head coach. It's looking like it's going to be Mendoza versus Bo Nix 2 times a year in the future, and that could make for some very exciting football, Libre.
But again, you still need an offensive line to protect him. And that's going to be their issue as well. So that's something that whoever the new coach is, they're going to have to also invest in the line because, yeah, you might have the Heisman Trophy winner. You might have the guy that just won the MVP of the national title game, bringing Indiana their first ever national championship. But if you don't have anybody there to protect them, it doesn't matter who you have. You can have, who like Patrick Mahomes. Look what happened. Like he got hurt. It doesn't matter who you're going to have back there. You need a line, and that's one thing that they'll have to invest as well. If they don't, it's going to be another rough year.
I still think it's hilarious when me and you first found out that Pete Carroll got signed to the Raiders and he was going to be the future of the franchise. And then Pete Carroll goes and brings Geno Smith from Seattle. And there was somebody I saw online that uploaded it was like a prophecy where it's like, oh, well, Pete Carroll is in Las Vegas now, and he took Geno Smith from Seattle, and Seattle's now going to be irrelevant. And fast forward a few months, and now this is they're in the Super Bowl with Sam Darnold.
Now that you say that, I just saw today one of the Raiders super fans post a video. He goes, "Hey Raiders fan, hey Raiders Nation, look what just happened right now. The Seattle Seahawks got rid of Pete Carroll and Geno Smith, and guess where they're at? They're in the Super Bowl. Now that we have got rid of Pete Carroll and hopefully we can get rid of Geno Smith, and let's get him out of here because Mendoza is going to be there. And guess what the possibility is going to be? Us in the Super Bowl." I was like, it's just so funny because it's the same super fan that's going out there and making fun of the Raiders and so forth for what they've been doing up to this point. And I like these super fans that are still out there making fun of their team, but then having this optimistic view as well when they say Pete Carroll's gone and Geno Smith was gone, and then guess what? Seattle's now in the Super Bowl. Now let's do that here in Las Vegas so that we can get to the Super Bowl.
I guess he wants for the Raiders to have a home run hit like the Patriots did when they brought in Mike Vrabel, who, by the way, let me just tell you, Tennessee, I don't know who the front office is or who the owner is, but they have got to be feeling some type of way watching Mike Vrabel take a team in his first year to the Super Bowl and possibly winning what this would be Vrabel's his first ring as a head coach, but I think his third.
Yeah, I don't know how many he has. Yeah.
I don't know how many he won with Brady, but it'll definitely go on another finger, not just the first one. And it just goes to show you that coaching in itself is very important. Just like how we got a lot of flack when Sean Payton, when his contract was bought with a first round pick, which is the one that we got from Miami for Bradley Chubb. And it's pretty much the same thing, especially since Sean Payton was sitting across from Colin Cowherd every other week and just, talking smack about Nathaniel Hackett and how he was an idiot and the Broncos were idiots for bringing him and, the whole Russell Wilson ordeal. And he, was like, okay, well, put your money where your mouth is.
Yeah.
come play for us and fix Russell Wilson. And Sean Payton took it one step further and got that man fired. Like it was nuts, Libre. Like never in my lifetime. And there was a video I forgot to send it to you that was literally talking from when Bo Nix, and we've said it like 100 times on this channel, him going and the Broncos being a laughing stock with everything that happened with Nathaniel Hackett and the big price tag on Russell Wilson and cap space and, rebuild. And we were going to be in the basement for a while until Russell left. And like what was supposed to be sunshine and rainbows and blue skies for the Broncos with Russell Wilson got to town, Libre, just turned into a thunderstorm and a crap show at that. And it looked like we were going to be stuck in that for a while. And, thankfully we got the ownership came and turned it around and reassured everybody in Broncos country that, they were not going to settle for anything less. And, we went from being, the laughing stock to division champs for the first time in 10 years and got close to another trip to the Super Bowl. And hey, making it to the AFC Championship is a right in its own merit, especially as the number 1 seed. And
I agree with you with all of that. And just thinking about all of what you're just saying as well, and about the game and similarities and all that. I don't know if you saw that video that Vic Lombardi posted out there about history repeating itself. Back in '92, the Broncos made it to the AFC Championship game with the backup quarterback, Gary Kubiak. Backup quarterback, both wearing the jersey number 8. The Broncos went into Buffalo for that AFC Championship game and losing that game also 10-7. The similarities of everything going on, like just everything leading up to that Super Bowl as well, like all the similarities, which was just strange. Like, and he just says the Broncos are familiar with this type of loss, and he just listed all these different stuff. Like, we had a backup quarterback playing in that game. Both these quarterbacks wearing the number 8, losing the game 10-7. Like, it's just like eerily, like, dang, that's crazy to see that happening, but guess what? The Broncos that following year went to the Super Bowl. Yeah, we might have lost it, but they went back. But I feel like this team is going to be out there and bring in the proper personnel that we need, that we're lacking, and it's going to be there. And I can't wait. It's going to start in March. That's when the new league year happens, and some of the free agents are able to come out there and start signing contracts or whatnot. And I think the Broncos are going to be very active.
I agree. And it's just going to be like one of those things, Libre, where and before I forget, just so everybody out here knows, because I'm pretty sure we missed the talking point, Libre, and I'm surprised nobody in the chat brought it up about since you mentioned Lombardi, Joe Lombardi being relieved of his duties as offensive coordinator. Yeah, but Libre and I are in the firm belief that they did this not to use as a scapegoat for what happened in the AFC Championship game, because we all know that was all Sean Payton.
Yeah,
but they're doing it to hopefully keep Davis Webb in Denver and promoting him to offensive coordinator. And to bring up a point that Bronco Libre brought up that I didn't even realize is that in the preseason this past year, all those plays that you saw Jared Stidham light up the field with, those were all Davis Webb plays. So coming him into offensive coordinator and hoping that Sean Payton releases the reins off a little bit and lets Davis Webb take control of the offense and help Bo Nix be better, and that offense be better, especially with whatever new toys they decide to add in the offseason, takes this Broncos game and the hopefully make for a better record than having to settle for 14-3. Hell, try to go for undefeated, be 16-1.
You know what? And I think a lot of it, like, yes, we want to keep Davis Webb. He went through and did a couple of interviews already for head coaching jobs. And I feel like with him and Bo Nix, they're really close. And I think Bo Nix saying, hey, if we want to be out there and have a good, successful offense, we need to first get rid of Lombardi. We need to get Davis Webb to stay here in Denver because they're super close. And I do think that give him the play calling for this upcoming season. I think that's all going to be part of the factor itself. And because you saw, like, I think we were talking this backstage, is that you could see that, like how you're saying as well, like Sean Payton was not ready or didn't have a game plan going on, like, or wasn't getting the plays out there fast enough. It was like that, just get it out there. That and I feel like that's what we're lacking, especially in this game. That just so that we can get out there, get the plays out, get them done, so that they're ready to go, and we're not having to burn timeouts early in the half, so that we can have them late in the half if we need to stop the clock for a field goal or whatever the case may be to win the game. But I feel like this is going to be good news, and then also. Jonathan Cooper in his interview as well might spilled, they're already talking about him almost spilt the beans or about the information with Vance Joseph, like saying like, oh, I'm glad and then he stops. That's already an indication right there that he's going to be, it sounds like he's going to stay here in Denver for another year at least. And might as well, like, why don't you just do that? Let's get another ring here. And you're going to be part of it. That's going to get us that ring. You're going to go to a team that is one of the bottom teams in the leagues right now. And you don't want that to be where you had the missed opportunity of actually getting your team back out there with us being one of the top defenses in the league. Now let's get us there where we're now the top defense and just show out, because you're going to be out there and you're going to do it. Instead of going out there and being the main guy, let's continue to be what you're doing. Like, I understand, like, yes, some people want to do that, but I think with Vance Joseph, I think he's going to be a better defensive coordinator than he would be a head coach. And that's not giving him any bad rap about him being the main guy, but I think you can excel. Somebody was also talking about Wade Phillips. Wade Phillips was one of those guys that he was a better defensive coordinator than he was the head coach, because he was the head coach for the Broncos for 2 years after we had fired Dan Reeves. But you have to remember, like, he was way better as the defensive coordinator for us and any other team that he went to than being a head coach.
And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to end it here. Libre and I would like to say thanks to everybody that was in our chat today. Jay Weaver, of course, Shai Vargas, Guillermo Morales, Jorge Montoya, Mahai Medlock, and Tim Dog.
Yeah.
And if you guys want to be cool like those guys every single stream that they come here, then please help us by showing your support here on the Orange and Blue Network by subscribing, sharing, commenting, and liking on this and all the videos that you guys see on the network and on this channel as well. Just in case you haven't been caught up or you're finally caught up, there is something here for everybody here on the Orange and Blue Network. For our audio listeners, regardless of what platform you're listening to, 5-star reviews are very well appreciated. If you like, you can send us a screenshot and we will read your review out on the air. Our Twitter handles are right there at the bottom of the screen. Mine is at a 6'10" Mexican. Bronco Libre is at Bronco Libre 5280. For any business inquiries, you can email at broncostalk2020@gmail.com. Once again, we'd like to say thank you to our sponsor, which is W. If you use the code OBN10, you'll get your 10% off your order at checkout. Again, that code is OBN10 to get your 10% off order at your checkout. Shout out to W for being a continued sponsor of this and all the shows here on the Orange and Blue networks. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready because the off season for Denver has officially started, and we are in for a long one before we can finally get back to talking about Broncos football. But with a little luck, September will be here before you know it.
Ya tú sabes. But again, but tomorrow, please tune in to the Mile High Outcasts with Mile High Medlock and Tim Dog. Let's go.
And hopefully they'll let me swear if they ever invite me on that show.
Oh, they will.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to head on out of here. He's Bronco Libre. I'm Adan Diaz. This has been Broncos Talk here on the Orange and Blue Network. We will see you next week at the same bat time and the same bat channel. And with that, we are out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day, evening, whenever you're watching. Doesn't matter. Thank you guys so much for your support once again. And as always, go Broncos! Next year. Because we're out.
We out.